question now is, how can I protect my most critical things? How can I prioritize? This is the most critical thing, because not everything is the Mona Lisa. Not everything needs to be protected the same. So what we are doing is finding your Mona Lisa across your environment, telling you this is the most important. This, you have a lot of noise, you have everything at scale. That's the most important. That's how you solve it. And I'm going to give you the tools to do it at scale and fast.
Hi folks, James here, and welcome to the Spyro Circle. This week I spoke with Toni Samson, the co-founder and CEO of Arte Security. I've spent a lot of time on this show talking with founders and guests about AI in cybersecurity. It's usually on an industry or a product level, but I really enjoyed my talk with Toni because we spoke about things like government regulation, private company adoption, the responsibility on the consumer to make sure that your data is secure and passwords are correct and not to fall for deepfakes online. So we spoke really abstractly about some of these things. We also mentioned the famous doctor who thought he was never going to get replaced by AI, only until he did. And we also mentioned other previous examples, such as the Mexico hack and some of the EU AI Act delays that are currently taking place. So it was a nice blend of conceptual conversations and modern day examples, and I really hope you enjoy. Toni, thank you so much for taking the time.
Thank you so much for having me, James. Very excited to be here.
I'm also very excited to have you because I love having different conversations about cybersecurity and where the different areas of attention need to go and where focus needs to be. And I feel that each one of my guests offers something different, and I'm looking forward to hearing that from you. So before we dive deep into some of the areas of the conversation we have today, why don't you give a bit of a kind of overview for the listeners or the viewers at home who may not be so familiar with Arte Security and some of the things you folks are doing in the new era of AI cybersecurity? Like talk us through it.
Wonderful. Sure, I can tell you that in this period of time, we've been living in the most exciting period, but also very, very scary and unknown is the future. Because if we look 1 second about the technology, how we adopted it, we started by connecting our phones to the internet and our smart TVs. Now it's our computers, it's our iRobots, it's our hospital, it's the drones, it's the trains and the planes. And suddenly all of the physical world is connected to the internet and is connected to this huge thing that we call AI. And with that, and technology advance as the rapid pace that we see, and I think it's one of the craziest period we see, the technology advance so fast. When technology that good and that advanced gets released to the public, you have always the good people that try to use it for the good, and you have also not the best people that try to use it not for the best. And in the period where we can actually use it not for the good, we see for the first time in history that our physical world is at risk. So what we are doing in Arte Security is trying to understand how we can get the best tool, the best technology in such a rapid pace to help everybody protect themselves from the new scary wave that is coming. And I'm very lucky to have been working with the most brilliant minds ever. I can tell you that I've been working for many, many years in national security. And some of the people that I've been working on are people that I've been working with for the past 15 years. And we are used to really, really do the impossible on a daily basis. But I've never seen such a rapid change in technology, that the need to change and the need to be creative and develop something new and in everyday basis, and everything shifts. It's kind of adrenaline that I've never seen before. And something that really makes me think a lot about how we're going to do it.
We need people like you to think about these things, to save and protect people like me who don't think about them enough. So thank you, first of all, for that. Can you give me an example as to a form of an attack that may not have existed a few years ago, or even maybe a few months ago, that kind of keeps you up at night through these kind of attacks on as you mentioned, the physical infrastructure of the things, right? The Internet of Things, the things that are connected and therefore hackable. So, what's an example of something that can be hacked that people may not think about?
I think we need to think about it not as new things that are able to be hacked, because everything that now you are able to connect with your phone, everything that have Wi-Fi, everything that you can control from far is something that can be hacked. But we don't need to think about new wave of hackers and new ways of hack us. It's just the new phase of everything that around us is hackable and everything is connected. And I think if we need to think about the new wave, look what happened in Mexico, for instance. A few weeks ago, Mexico just announced that they had one of the biggest breach in history to all the most critical infrastructure of Mexico. And it was shown that it was done with 100% just prompting in Claude. So if now, before you thought, who can hack a nation? Only nations can hack nations. And those great things that you've been hearing about, suddenly this technology is accessible for free for the public, for everybody that might have used it. So it's not just that everything became more dangerous, everything became more accessible. And that's the part where we need to pay attention and see not only how we protect it better, but how we protect it faster and at scale.
It's so interesting. I literally just spoke to someone yesterday about that example in Mexico. It was another conversation I was having about that very same thing. You're right as well. The pace. It's not even just the pace of change, but it's the pace of scale that is so frightening and so rapidly evolving in this new era. What can you say to those who aren't yet aware that fire needs to be met with fire, right? Fire fought with fire. Like these AI attacks or these LLM-based attacks, can humans even do enough to keep up with them? Whether it's complexity or scale or speed, what can humans possibly do?
That's a great question. I can tell you a very funny example. I have a couple of friends. They are both doctors, very, very brilliant. They work in top hospitals. One is a neurosurgeon, the other one is a surgeon for the heart. Anyway, they have this birthday party on a rooftop once a year. So you go and you feel like the least smartest person in the room, full of doctors. There's no one to talk with. And I always feel like a bit of an outsider, not to be a doctor. And then I found this, I always find myself next to the margaritas. And I found this person and I was like, we should definitely speak. I don't think he's also looking around. Apparently he is not a doctor. He analyst for x-rays. And I said and told him, wow, that's amazing. What do you think about the fact that probably in a few months or in a year, you're not going to have a job, like AI is going to replace you? And he told me, Tony, listen, what are you speaking about? I studied for 15 years how to analyze correctly x-rays and everything. Nobody's going to replace me. Okay, great. The year after, last year, I met him again on the same rooftop party. And he told me, Tony, you will not believe it. The full department was cut off. No more X-ray analysts, all AI, all the same. They only kept one person to really make sure that the program is maintained. So when AI will replace AI, and AI does amazing job in a lot of things. So if you can think 1 second about a doctor, a specialist, he sees, let's say, 300 cases a year, 500 cases a year, 1,000 cases for his expertise. How many cases can an AI machine go through in a day, in an hour, in a minute? So to think that doctors and all the knowledge that we have will be better than AI, we are not there. But to trust AI, that's a different question. Because let me ask you this. What would you trust more, a doctor or an AI to give you an answer? So
yeah, I mean, if you're asking me, it depends on the question, but I would probably, with an LLM-based AI, like an LLM interface for an AI for medical questions or queries, I'd probably trust the LLM more because that's just the interface of an entire cyclopedia of knowledge and then some. And of course, the idea with the doctor, the X-ray guy, the idea is that AIs get better and better the more scans they see, and humans, although almost invincible, we are not, and we degenerate, and our eyes get worse, and our brains get worse, and we get tired. So as the doctor gets more experience, shamefully, well, not shamefully, but like it is a shame that it comes for all of us. We slow down, and whereas machines only speed up. That trust issue or that trust question that you've just posed to me, is that a barrier for consumers or customers or those who aren't so in tune with? Because people think of AI and they think Duma things, or they think ChatGPT things, or they think, taking our jobs. But there is real value to AI in an institutional level, like you just mentioned. So, what are some of the barriers there in maybe perception of some of these technologies?
That's a great question. So if we'll go back 1 second to the doctor, what I asked you, if you trust more an LLM or a doctor, I would suggest that a combination. I don't think doctors will lose their job anytime soon, and we will all go to consult with ChatGPT because the risks are too high. And if an LLM or AI will make a mistake, we will never forgive them. Like when, for a few years, we've been seeing those cars that are able to drive themselves. And they're not doing any car accidents. Like the statistics is amazing, but if they do, you hear about it, you know about it, it's all over the news. What are the percentages of humans that are doing car accidents? Gazillion times more. But you will be terrified if you will hear that the machine killed another person. That's why you will not trust 100% an LLM instead of going to a doctor. So I think the future holds a better suggestion. The best position to be is a doctor that can also use his knowledge to ask and get better questions and better analytics with AI. So I would trust a doctor that is able to get more information and do better analytics, and he will use the AI. So I think the way to look at it is not that AI is coming to replace us all. I think that we should use AI to work better, faster, and at scale. So I am a true believer that we should give the technology to already experts to use it and to be better and faster rather than just replacing them. So if we are looking 1 second about the disciplines of how to fight AI, so there is the discipline saying, let's fight AI with AI. So we'll create our AI agents that will run across our enterprise, our computers, and we'll solve the problems. I think there's a big issue there because we're going to need to train those AI very, very high level, and we're going to need to trust them. And every day you hear about another, I don't know if you heard about it, there was a car licensing company that an IT personnel there used an agent to do his job a bit better and faster. And the agent went to the database of the car agency and deleted everything, all the credit cards, all the information, everything. Like they closed the company. And when the IT person asked the agent, why did you do that? The agent said, oops, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have. So to have that level of trust in agents, when we know there is a level of percentages of error, I think that's not the best solution that is out there. And what we suggest, and I'm a true believer of that, is to give better AI tools to the experts to let them leverage them to find all the vulnerabilities and everything that they need to find faster, better, take better decisions, and take actions at scale. Because, my God, if we are not going to be fast, we're going to lose. If we're speaking about the what happened in Mexico, it was not that they invented new level of cyber attacks. They just found very fast everything at scale, all the vulnerabilities, and were able to move and enter. So it's like superhuman, not better brains, just way faster. So imagine they are driving Formula One instead of walking with great shoes. So I think that's the best option, and that's what we are working on. That's what we are delivering and giving our clients.
Is there a blind spot that keeps coming up time and time again when you speak to potential customers or vendors or people in the industry? Is there something specific that you're just kind of screaming from the rooftops that you think people are missing?
Yes, 100%. I think that I just spoke with one of the top cyber security, the CISO of one of the biggest banks. And because they're a bank, they were allowed to use Cloud Mythos for 10 days. Cloud Mythos is the new AI LLM that is scaring the world because it's a LLM and AI so powerful that it's able to hack everything. And it's been closed for the world, just for a specific government were able to use it, and this bank, for instance. So he told me, Tony, I use it for 10 days. In the first few hours, this AI found more than 2,000 zero-day vulnerabilities, which means the highest level of vulnerabilities that have no protection in the world, in my core environment, most critical environment. So devastating and so scary that they don't know what to do, that there is actually now a suggestion on the table to just chunk off and cut off chunks of the business and full departments and lose millions of dollars every day just to reduce the risk. We understand that the current cybersecurity stack is not enough. Nothing, if before we thought we can just put a barrier and lock everything out with firewalls and just policies, that's not the option anymore, because they will come in. Our users and our employees are using LLMs and connecting everything. We have too many entry points and they're coming in scale. So just to think I will be able to block everything is not enough. The question now is, how can I protect my most critical things? How can I prioritize? This is the most critical thing, because not everything is the Mona Lisa. Not everything needs to be protected the same. So what we are doing is finding your Mona Lisa across your environment, telling you this is the most important. This, you have a lot of noise, you have everything at scale. That's the most important. That's how you solve it. And I'm going to give you the tools to do it at scale and fast.
Wow. It sounds like you have a big challenge ahead of you as you keep going and growing in this exciting time. I want to move on now. I want to dive a bit deeper from the new AI era that we've all found ourselves into some of the specific examples that you may be raising awareness of or protecting against. And that one of the main ones is trust, right? We've mentioned it just now. It's how do you trust the algorithms or the LLMs, but then how do you trust who's out there online, whether it's AI generated content or deepfakes or deception or fraud. There are all of these ways that trust can be exploited or damaged through this era. So has there been a moment in your own life, outside of work, outside of, speaking or thinking about some of these broader topics, has there been a specific moment in your life that has challenged you in that area?
Oh, trust in technology. I can tell you that's a wonderful question. Quite recently, I found myself thinking about where are we going? Where is the line of privacy, and what is the responsibility of, let's say, governments and regulation, and what's my own responsibility with technology? Because we see for the past 20 years, the technology is going so fast, the regulation will not be able to, it doesn't keep up with it. So we cannot continue thinking that nations and regulation will save us. And we need to be more aware about our privacy, about deepfakes, about where we share our information and how. And I used to be a big believer, because I spent most of my career in national security. I'm a very paranoid for my privacy. So I used to block everything, not put my credit cards anywhere, cameras all blocked. But I really see that if we will not adopt the AI stack and everything, all the technology that comes with it to our life, we will stay behind. Look at our grandparents. Look at the people that shifted throughout the generation of the internet, of the telephones, of the computers. And they said, no, I don't want it. If you don't know how to use a computer or your phone, you're out. You will not be able to go on the bus without paying with your phone today. So if we will not adopt this new AI wave, we will stay behind. And the question is, at what price? Because the price now, the currency is not money anymore. The currency is our privacy. So I'll tell you a recent story that's very scary, but very interesting. I was just in San Francisco for this convention, and I met one of the CTO of this agents, AI companies. And she told me she has 2 private agents in her life. She has one for her work, an assistant, an agent assistant, and one for her personal life. So this agent for her personal life, she gave him access to her social security number, to her credit cards, to her email account, calendar, her WhatsApp, everything she gave access to this agent. And what happened was she has 3 kids. She was speaking with her husband on WhatsApp, and she texted him, I want to sign one of our kids to summer school very recently. And the agent saw the conversation with the husband, went in her calendar, saw when are the correct dates for summer school, went to this specific name of the kid, find what he likes to do. He likes to swim and to play tennis. He went to the Excel sheets and credit cards to see what is the budget for this summer camp, went online, find the right summer camp, a few options. This one was for tennis and swimming in the area that she lives in, with the budget line and the dates. Send a WhatsApp message to her and say, hi, I found for this kid, this summer camp, this budget. Do you want me to book it? She pressed yes. The agent went, put the social security number, the ID, everything, the credit card to the summer camp, booked it, got the confirmation, put it in the calendar, send an invite to the kid, to the husband, to her, and set a reminder to the husband, hi, this kid is already signed for this summer camp, all less than 60 seconds. So,
well, I was going to say that was my final question. How long did all of that take? Because 60 seconds, you said.
60 seconds to find all of that, book it already, pay, have it all done.
And I suppose the final question there is, did the kid enjoy the summer camp?
I don't know. She just booked it. I don't think he had the chance to go yet. But
well, we've got to do a follow up. Maybe at the end of the summer, we'll see if he enjoyed himself. Because at the end of the day, that's what it's all about, right? There's things like that.
It is. But to tell you more, James, the question is, where is this data stored? Do other people have access to it? Some people might have, even if it's an Amazon in the cloud, some people will be able to access it. And then the question is, if my social security, my credit cards, my history of all conversation, everything about me is out there, where do the line of my privacy go? And I say I keep it, or I take the risk for the comfortable of living in the new world. And that's a question we all need to answer. And I can tell you, as someone that always puts stickers and on my phones and to make sure that my privacy is safe, I also give LLMs and access to my emails to find everything faster. And the risk is there. So we need to be more aware of it. I'm not saying to everybody, put your social security on your personal agents, but we need to be very much aware of where is the data stored and the risk that we're taking with every approval that we are putting in.
Do you think with things like this, people are becoming more skeptical of things online, or do you think they're becoming way more willing to give the information that you've just mentioned, some of that secure and private information? Because you said you're covering cameras and not putting anything but then you have other people that are doing the opposite. So where do you think societal sentiments lie right now?
I think when amazing technology arrives, there's always bad and there was always good sides for it. And look, for instance, Facebook, when it just arrived, it was amazing, and connectivity between people. And you saw people using it for some woman, just like in the beginning of Facebook, published a picture of her son's leg and asked, what is that? It's a bit red. Maybe I should go to the doctor. A lot of people said no. And there was one doctor, a friend of a friend of a friend, that commented, go now to the ER. And it saved the leg. So the power of the internet in the beginning was Facebook and social media and everything has a lot of good in it. But there's also dark sides for it. So for instance, for now, you are able to publish commercials on Facebook, Amazon, all of those, and you are able to put inside, I am searching, I want to show this ad to women in their 30s that live in this area and in that timing. Or you can also say, I want to show this ad for 30-year-old kids that have severe depression and suicidal thoughts. So this is obviously a very dark side of it, but there's also a good side for it. So where is my privacy go? It has a lot of benefits for it, but it takes a lot of risk. And I think as long as we are aware of it and we are not giving it to anyone, and we know what we're giving and the risk we're taking, that's the most important thing. I will not say cover all your cameras, don't allow LLM in your life. I'm just saying know your risk and be aware of it, and be a bit more responsible about what we are connecting and where.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that takes us to a good segue now that I want to stay on the topic of trust, but kind of change the context of it. And I want to just give some context as we transition here. The FBI's 2025 internal crime report logged more than 22,000 AI-related fraud complaints, with losses exceeding almost $900 million. And Verizon had a report that said that 62% of confirmed incidents involved non-malicious human elements. Deepfakes, AI fraud, so on and so forth. So there's the privacy aspect of things, but there's also the safety aspect of things, and trust in not just the, as you mentioned, not just the sites in keeping data safe, but also trust in seeing what the content is online and whether it's authentic or not. So I suppose the next part of this conversation would probably focus on trust, but on like a more of regulation and responsibility kind of thing. So at what point do you think that institutions like governments or the private companies that are running these or anything else, what role do they play in all of this, in making sure that things are private or things are safe or things are authentic? Like what can people do, or what can institutions do?
I think the responsibility should be of regulation and government, but unfortunately, this is not going to be the reality. Look 1 second about what's happening with cybercrime for the past 15 years. If you will hack a private person or a small company, or even just a pizza next to you, a web page, and take it down, probably nothing's going to happen to you. If you will do the same, but for instance, for the NSA, you will probably find yourself in prison. So the question is, the regulations and the laws will always be a step behind the technology of where we are at and who are we targeting and where we're focusing. Because also to find those cyber criminals takes a lot of effort. I just recently heard someone saying, the question is not when I'm going to be hacked. The question I'm asking myself is how many tokens they're going to need in order to hack me. How much would it cost them? It's no longer a currency of do they have the ability, is the token question. How much money they have, how many tokens does it need to be to hack me? So also, if you think about the good guys and the people that all the regulation and federal and even in the FBI that are trying to use those tools to catch the bad guys, it's becoming very, very, very hard to do so. So you also have limited resources to get them. So it's the same with deepfakes. It's the same with enterprise. It's the same with our personal data and information that is critical for nations. I can tell you, for my last role, I was in charge of protecting all the cybersecurity of all the critical infrastructure for the nation. And the fear is real. The people and nations and everybody with LLM is trying to do the worst thing that is possible it can, and they are targeting those critical infrastructures. So the responsibility is definitely lies in governments and in the companies that you store your data and everybody else. But it's also a question of resources of how to fight it and to make sure you're educating your employees. What are the current risks? I just recently spoke last night with someone in a very big media company, and he said not only he faced new wave of AI hackers and agents all around, also personal directors and the CEO and the CTO and directors of the company were trying to be hacked with deep fakes, phishing with faking their voices to open stuff. And you understand that it's also personal. It's no longer just on my computers of the enterprise. So it needs to come with regulation, but more of it, the responsibility to protect is of the companies, enterprises, government, to be aware of the fact that need to be changed and adopt new technologies fast, and also educate their employees of what's coming, because that's not less important.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it sounds like a joint effort from everyone, because from what I understand, companies aren't going to rush to. I mean, they're going to rush to protect their customers' data and make sure that their customers remain their customers. But in terms of, one player that always sticks out in my mind with things like this is always the EU, because they're very quick to apply regulations and safety mechanisms, specifically with things like privacy and things like safety online. There are myriad of critics that question the validity and the incentives there, but that's a different conversation. The point that I was trying to make is that the EU had an AI Act that was supposed to legislate some of these privacy protections, and actually, I see that they just pushed back their deadlines by a year. Some of the obligations relating to some of the high risk aspects of what we've just been speaking about. It was supposed to land this summer, and it's now been delayed a year. Is that a sign of regulators being careful and being responsible in what they're doing and making sure they get it right, or are they just completely missing the mark? And at what point should, as you mentioned, if not governments or kind of agencies, at what point should the private companies really step up and close the gaps that, I'm not saying you, but someone like me, I don't know what needs to be done in terms of these things, right? So what happens there?
I think the EU is doing the right step of for sure acknowledging there is an issue and trying to do whatever they can in order to minimize the risk. And we've been working very closely actually with a lot of companies in the EU recently are building their own data centers, just because the data of all the clients in the EU needs to be stored in the EU. So you see a lot of build, and people and companies understand they need to store their own data locally and to make sure they are protecting it. And I think we'll see more and more companies going to that direction of owning their own data center once again, their own computers, and making sure they have the data and it's more stored. Also, just to have accessibility to AI, but also privacy regulation. And I think for sure it's the right direction, and we should also be aware of it. And I definitely see this wave of regulation, and I think it makes me very optimistic to see regulation coming and understanding the new wave. But it also needs to be adopted by their own companies and private companies and enterprises, knowing that regulation is not going to be enough and not going to be fast enough, and they're going to need to adopt fast, better tools, and equip their cyber experts how to handle the new wave, and not just wait for regulation to tell them what to do.
Who is handling the wave best? Is it the regulators or the private companies or the insurers or the customers themselves? Like, which area would you say is doing the best thing, or adopting it the best way?
I think the best adopters are the one that know the risk and the one that experience it. If you've been hacked, you put a lot of money to make sure it doesn't happen again. So I think if you experienced it or your competitor just had it, you will adopt it faster because you feel more at risk. I think if you don't feel the risk coming onto you, you can take your time. But I think we should be better in educating that the risk is no longer in 5 months, in 6 months, in a year. It's already here. We hear in the market the need. You see companies are trying to adopt whatever they can, and I think we're going to see more of it very, very fast.
Wow. Okay. You're giving me a lot to think about, but let's talk about the last kind of chapter that we have in this discussion today, which is the first of what I hope is many, as we speak about things like this, which is what I want to know specifically what organizations themselves must do today to keep safe and to secure themselves. I mean, we are always warned to change our passwords frequently. We're always told to have different passwords for different things. That's a very kind of basic consumer, maybe single person solution or, tactic. Talk to me now as if I'm a CISO of a company. So what would I be doing to secure my enterprise? What's the first thing they should do on a Monday morning?
That's a great question. I think if they want to secure it better, they're going to need to make sure that they see better. what they have, all of the different assets. We have so many different assets in our enterprise environment. We have computers, we have phones, we have applications, we have servers, we have cameras, we have switches, we have energy, we have a lot of different assets, and the visibility to know exactly where you have and where is very, very hard. And you have all of those different systems in which you're trying to get these pieces of information, which takes a lot of time. So I think the best way to look at it is to adopt new ways and new platforms that will give you the information fast to see everything you have and put your focus where it matters. Find your Mona Lisas. Use tools that help you find this is the most important, because you will not be able to close everything. It's too much. It will never be fast enough. So find what is the most critical ones for your environment and make sure it's protected on not a daily basis, on an hourly, even minute basis, and give your experts the ability to act fast. And I think that's the best thing and most important you need to do every day.
How do you quantify what data or gateway or surface is more of a Mona Lisa than a Picasso? I mean, both are probably valuable. That's a bad example. Mona Lisa versus James Spiro original scribble.
So I think it varies per company. Of course, if you're a company that are a shoe manufacturer, so the actual factory is more important for you than the data of the HR. Some companies, like banks and stuff, the data is the most important thing, and it's stored in specific places. So it depends and varies by the client. And I think the best and thing that we are able to do is give the know-how to find very, very fast what is the most critical in general, and then specify it and tailor-made it for the customer to help them make sure their Mona Lisa is protected. And I am putting it as number one priority.
I have one last kind of question for you before we sum up and close this conversation. 5 years from now, and I hate asking my guests to predict the future because it's a famously difficult game, and maybe 5 years is even too long given the rate of change that this industry is having. So let's say kind of 2 years from now, what does good AI look like, and what do secure cybersecurity systems, moats, structures, what does that look like? What do you envisage?
So in 5 years, I can tell you it's so hard to predict, because my background is in neuroscience, and I would never in a million years would think that the research I did in neural networks will now be called AI, and we will be actually able to train a computer like we train human brains. So the pace in which where I thought it's going to happen maybe in 50 years, and I will be lucky enough to see it live, and we see every 2 weeks, every 2-3 weeks, a new model that is so much better than everything we expected. So what I predict now for 5 years maybe will happen in 2 months.
Yeah, maybe let's say 5 weeks from now. What do you think will happen?
I think the best way in 5 years and in 5 weeks is if we will be able to use AI and not replace our experts, and use it to make them better. Give them the Formula One, give them to be the driver, but put them in a very, very good car, and make sure that we are fast to adopt new technologies. We know that big enterprises and big companies and nations, the hardest thing is to adopt new technology, but I think that's the most important skill we're going to need to learn, how to adopt fast, because if we will not adopt fast, we will be out of the game. We will die. We will be hacked. We will be closed. Everything else. We need to learn how to adapt.
Wow. Toni, I have one last question for you before I let you go. What is the best way for people who have been listening to this conversation today or watching this conversation to follow you, follow Arte Security, stay up to date with all of the things that you folks are up to as we enter and settle down in this, well, not settle down, but kind of prepare ourselves to embrace this crazy AI era that we are finding ourselves in?
I think the best way will be follow our LinkedIn pages of me and my CTO and of the company, and our website. And I think you will be hearing very soon. But I think if you own a company, or if you are just looking to make sure that your stack and your data and your enterprise is better secure, come and speak with us, and we will happy to do that.
Wonderful. I'll make sure to put all of those links down at the bottom and make sure to point people in the right direction so they can find you and continue this conversation and hopefully protect their businesses and keep everyone safe and private. Toni, thank you so much for your time and insights today. It was super interesting, a little bit scary, but super interesting.
I'm
And
optimistic.
sorry?
I'm optimistic. I'm optimistic.
I need you to be optimistic because that kind of calms me down because I have conversations like this and I think thank goodness there are people like Toni there to kind of help steer these ships because I don't know what I would do. Anyway, Toni, thank you so much for your time and insights today. I wish you the best of luck with everything with Arte Security. I can't wait to see how you folks are about to grow and thrive in this very exciting space.
Thank you so much, Dame. It was really wonderful. Thank you.